Hello everybody, today we will be reading a book called Livingstone Hill, and my name is Emily Pinhorn Chavez. Livingstone Hill by Frank Coffin, illustrated by Karen Ryan. This area is now called Livingstone Place. A lot of families live here. Their homes lie among a maze of streets and sidewalks. There are many children in this neighborhood. They ride their bikes together and play at each other's houses. The school bus comes and picks them up in the morning, and they go down the hill to their school. The people who live here love it. They think it is just the best place in the entire world. However, the area now called Livingstone Place was not always like it is today. This place was once called Livingstone Hill. Streets and lawns and fences and houses were not here then. What was here? What was the land like? Has it changed over time? What sort of people and creatures once lived here? If you look anywhere in the world, you may wonder what once was there. Everything changes, and if it strikes you that where you live was different long ago, you are probably right. Livingstone Hill has changed a lot too. What did Livingstone Hill look like 25 years ago? There were no houses, sidewalks, or streets. There was just a hill and a field. Some rusty wire made a big circle around the field. A very old building had recently fallen down. You may suppose it was a barn or something. Perhaps if you could go back farther, you could learn more about it. 50 years ago, this field was part of a farm. Cattle grazed on the hill, and the barn was in good shape. Many other animals were on this farm too. There was a big farmhouse where Livingstone family lived. A glimpse of the mailbox showed the words, Livingstone Farm. Perhaps 50 years ago, some of your neighbors or relatives were children. Maybe they lived near farms. Maybe they did not. Can you imagine ways that their lives were different? On Livingstone Hill, life was changing. How had it changed from even earlier days? 100 years ago, Livingstone Hill was a new farm. The farmhouse was smaller. You can see that the Livingstone family must have built into it over the years. They did not have a tractor, but look at the size of those horses. The horses had to be big and strong because it was their job to pull the wagon and the plow. Think about the neighborhood you live in. What might it have looked like 100 years ago? Was it farmland? Were buildings that now look old, shiny, and new? How did people do this thing? Do the things that you do every day? Years ago, Livingstone Hill looked a lot different. It was almost all forest. It must have taken a great deal of work to clear away all those trees for farming. Settlers had to cut down one tree at a time with axes or saws. 200 years ago, it looked like no one even lived in Livingstone Hill. Settlers or explorers may have come upon this land and thought that they were all by themselves. However, they were not alone. Who might have lived in Livingstone Hill before the settlers came? 500 years ago, in Livingstone Hill, the woods were thick and beautiful. People lived there, but they knew how to live without causing any damage to the earth. Summers must have been lovely. Winters may have been very hard. What did your neighborhood look like 500 years ago? No buildings stood on the land where your neighborhood is now. Was the land just a thick forest? Was the land rolling plains? 1,000 years ago, the hill looked different. The trees were not the same as they would be later. They were not as big, and the hill was not as so steep. The stream was different too. It was not exactly the same place, and it was wider and shallower. There were still signs of people on the banks of the stream. Look at those piles of shells. You can see that people depended on the stream for food. Water has always been important, and most cities began by rivers or seas. Now let's find out what it was like on Livingstone Hill many thousands of years ago. 10,000 years ago, Livingstone Hill was cold. Ice covered large parts of the area. Spruce and polar trees were there then as they are now. But maples and oaks were not. Many animals were different then too. Mastodons and musk oxen were comfortable in the cold. Saber-toothed cats lived here too. They hunted snowshoe hares and peccaries, a kind of wild pig. Livingstone Hill was not even a hill yet. The land was a high plain and became a hill later when water washed the sides of the plain away. Over the centuries. Well, that's all for today, everybody.